Hello, ladies out here. We are live and ready for another Ecstatically Ever After event. That's our podcast. I'm here with the lovely Claudia. This was her theme and idea. I think it's brilliant because we see it all the time. 3 ways you may be pushing good men away. Now, I wanted to ask you, why was this such a prevalent theme? Because we were talking about what's really coming up in our work with clients and who's reaching out to us. And the pushing good men away seems to be happening everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think we don't realize that we're doing it a lot of the time. Women don't realize that we're doing it. And so we wanted to shed some light on this problem.
Yeah, and when I looked at the 3 we came up with, the first thing I realized is people don't realize they're doing this.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you think there's not a lot of great men out there, ladies, that's wrong. I just heard some polarity guy talk about, if you're in your 30s, there's fewer good men out there. No, there's amazing men all the time. I always say if you're in a city or an area of 100,000 people, we can find you great men and a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to do the work, but they're there and we do it all the time. The vast, vast majority of our clients. But let's dive into the 3 ways you may be pushing good men away. And if this resonates with you, put it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it. Ask questions, that's fine. But number 1, what's the number 1 way you're pushing men away, Claudia?
You're not making space for him.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is a real problem, especially with modern women, because I know that I had this problem for many years. It's like I was taught to be this woman who was so self-sufficient in everything. And I had to I always say women today are taught to wear the proverbial pants and the skirt at the same time. It's like we have to be all the things. We have to hold all the roles. We have to, be the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine. And it's like we're covering all of the space. It's like we're covering all of the territory, and there's no space for him to step in. And we don't realize that that's what we're doing.
Right. What's to be more specific, where do you see that in the culture with people that come into our work at first?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really, you see it a lot in people's language. So the women who come into our work and who are who deeply desire love, or maybe they've dreamt of having the marriage of their dreams or the man of their dreams, but they have this program that's in them somewhere that's like, I don't need a man, right? And it would be nice to have one. I want a man, that would be great, but I don't need one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, Jonathan, what does that do to your system when I say, I don't need you? How does that feel?
It's weird because I'm her husband, I'm her hero, but when I hear that, my system shuts down and goes away. Mm-hmm. I go from hero to victim. I go from knight to crawling on my feet. I go from stud of the century to wimposaurus, and I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to stick around that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that more with number 2 and 3, because I think but men will go away from that every time. They like to win. That's it. You feel like you fail.
You feel like you're not needed, right? You're not necessary. It's sort of like you're useless.
Yeah.
And women don't realize that. Men need to feel needed. They need to feel wanted, yes, but they really need to feel needed. They need to feel useful. And they have some role in your life. They're serving a purpose in your life. You're women, you could think about us being the raison d'etre, or at least one of the raison d'etre of the masculine, right? You give him a reason to wake up in the morning. You give him a reason for his being, his purpose, his mission in life. You're the one who he comes home at the end of the day, and you give him meaning. And we as women, those of us who've been trained to be no, I don't need a man. I'm fine on my own. I've got this, right? We're actually denying the man. We're depriving him of the opportunity to come in and to be of service and to be of use and to be really to live out his mission and his purpose, which at least in part is to serve the feminine, right? And not to say he doesn't have his own mission, right, that he's doing on his own, but there is this beautiful synergy, and we cut men off at the knees. We don't realize this. We cut them off. We deprive them of their purpose, and we deprive them of their reason for being, right? When we're just no, I don't need you. And women don't even realize that we're doing this a lot of the time. We're just sort of living, and I know I did this for a long time. Like I would just be like, yeah, honey, I'm good. I've got this. I don't need you. Right. And it was, I think it created some issues in a relationship because that's how I had been trained to be as a woman. I had taught to really be hyper independent. I had taught to really be like, it's not safe to meet a man. I had been taught that, you know, you have to do it all and be it all. And a man is sort of a nice cherry on top, if, you know, if you're lucky.
She even did it in business, all these female entrepreneurs, and I can do it myself. But the thing is, what we do, media operations, is my specialty. Getting things, our message across the planet. I think we'd still be helping hundreds more if maybe we had gotten there earlier, but thank God we got there. And it's so rewarding. Like, I think we have the most blessed, amazing, beautiful marriage and business out there. And it's because, I think especially as you became a Catholic, she just surrendered more and more, and I got to step up into, and it lets the man step up into hero role, into husband role, into claiming. When ladies it's almost like you're letting down the sword and letting him come in with it. And I swear, I mean, I do everything for Claudia. It's just like this march to Italy is for Claudia. The sales calls are for Claudia, or, you know, our breakthrough calls are for Claudia. It's like, and I think men need their woman and to fight the good battle for her, because that's your legacy. The best thing I've ever done in this lifetime is marry Claudia. And that's why we're so proponents of it, but you also need to have a really great marriage. So not only will this help you with being single, but it will help you when you're married too. I want to call out something else on this, which is like, I feel like I have this kind of perspective that most men don't on the planet. Nice thumbs up. Help doing a lot of our love diagnostic calls or breakthrough calls. I get to hear hundreds of love stories, usually ones that need improvement. Let's be honest, all. And there's almost two types of calls. There's the ones where I'm a goddess. I'm not going to call out names. I'm a mastery, feminine embodiment person. I've done polarity, and often there's no room for men there.
Right. It's all about me, right?
It's all about me, me, me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I think we work much better when it's both of us and I get to lead, right?
100%. Yeah.
And there's got to be a humility. Like when Claudia wrote this one down of you're not making space for him, I'm like, I get two type of calls. One, which is, yeah, I kind of, like you were saying, I kind of like a husband, or it'd be nice. It's theoretical. And the women who are almost crying, saying this is a lifelong need, or it's a desire I wouldn't let myself have. I need a man. I need a husband. I want one. And I know she's going to come in appreciative, humble, and ready. And she has a lot more to offer the man because he wants to initiate and claim. But in the Me Too era, in this time, he might not just jump in there and do that unless you breathe and give it that space. And I think part of it also is like they've surrendered to God a little more. There's almost a more devotional aspect of it when you're like, wow, I actually need my husband. I need a man. And that might be what's revolutionary about our work too, is we're not just into situationships or poly. We're really into kingdom marriage, if that's something you're called to.
I love all of that, honey. Yeah.
I love that too. I love that we shared a little of the personal story too, because I think us going through this process has really helped us help other people as well.
Well, I feel like also modern women, just going back to like the trend that we see with our clients and just women in the modern world, and certainly I have this going on, is like we're taught to really like fill up our lives, like fill up your life with work, with, you know, career, with money, with success, with education, with, okay, let's get, you know, another degree, or let's climb the corporate ladder, right? And so, or let's fill. It's almost like we're just filling these voids, and it's like we're so full. And when we're so full, and it's not to say you just want to be a totally like empty vessel, right? Like you shouldn't have a life of your own, or you shouldn't have interests or passions, or, you know, dreams
100%,
of your own. Like
100%.
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
But there is this space that when we empty some of that out, there's space for a man to come in.
Yeah.
Because if we're just so full of ourselves and full of our own lives and full of our own careers and work and money and whatever else it is, it's like there's no space for him. It's like our plate is so full. And until we empty some of that out, it's kind of like there's no room for a man to come in, because there's sort of no there's no space for him. Like,
Yeah.
how can you make space in your life for a man when your life is so filled up with busyness? It's really just like a busyness. And I think a lot of it comes from this sense of lack of fulfillment or loneliness or this hunger, or I can't get no satisfaction, right? I'm just like filling myself with more stuff.
Modern busyness.
Yeah, modern busyness.
Yeah.
And it's like just filling ourselves with more stuff when the hunger that we long for most is that union, is that relationship, is that divine marriage, right? That's what we hunger for most when you really get still with yourself and you quiet yourself and allow yourself to really go deep into the truest, deepest longings of your heart. You will often find, and this can be a little scary for us as women if we have so much on our plates, right? If we filled up our lives with busyness and busy work, right? Feeling that deep, deep longing of your heart can be really vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like getting naked with yourself. You have to be like, wow, I've filled myself up with all of these degrees and all these accolades and all of this, climbing up the career ladder or whatever it is. But what I really want is marriage. What I really want is a family. What I really want is that beloved person by my side. And that can be really terrifying.
Absolutely.
Because it's very confronting of the places in your life where perhaps your priorities have not been centered around your truest heart's desires versus what, just filling yourself up to kind of try and scratch an itch that's there, but it never fully gets scratched.
Yeah. And if it sounds like we're kind of saying women are like, I want to say my mistake here. I had a busyness too. And I don't think it was a fear of vulnerability. It was not knowing. Like my big mistake is not marrying this amazing woman earlier. I was such an idiot. Like we didn't know how great marriage could be. We didn't have mentors and guides saying, oh no, sacred marriage is the coolest thing on the planet. And so
we kind of stumbled into it.
We stumbled into it. So, I mean, if you hear me critiquing Claudia a little bit or like what we did in the past, me too. I wish I had known and claimed earlier. But as she has let more space to really want a man and appreciate a husband, I just wake up in ecstasy. Don't you feel like we wake up in this deep satisfaction with our lives?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think our clients do too, that find their beloved. So that's what is so beautiful about the work is there was no man, and then there is, and they all stay together. That's what's incredible, because when you give more space, and that's going to allow for a lot more appreciation, and the marriages last. So it's not just about finding him, it's about making it last the long haul and having your ecstatically ever after. And giving space is a really great first step. Okay, so I think that's great. I think one leads to two. So what is the second way, Claudia, that ladies may be pushing good men away?
Yeah, we have a fantasy list a lot of the time.
The ye old fantasy list. Boy, have I run into that one on the calls. What would a fantasy list look like?
Yeah, so when I'm talking about a fantasy list, I'm talking about expectations or ideas or entitlements or, things that you think you want, or, you have this really, really long list of expectations or desires or needs, right? Or, of your standards, right? A lot of people call it, oh, these are my standards. But the problem with this fantasy list is that it's very mental a lot of the time. It's very egoic. It's coming more from our ego than the true desires of our heart and our true requirements and our true deal breakers and non-negotiables, which of course help us clarify, who is a good match for us and who isn't. But when we have this fantasy list, it's almost like this long, it's like this wall, right? It's like this egoic wall that we use to protect ourselves and to push good men away and to basically write off, high quality suitors that otherwise would be an incredible match for us if we were to, give them a chance, right? Give them a chance beyond a first or second date because they don't match our egoic standards. So some of the things that you might see on the egoic standards list or the fantasy list would be things like his height, right? Like, oh, he's got to be 6'5" or bust, right? Like, Okay. I get it that women want tall men, like that's a thing, right? But does it really, really matter that much? Like him being 6'5", does that really, really matter in the long run? Or is that an egoic preference, right? Is that a fantasy list thing that you have, that you just created in your own mind, really as a block to intimacy? It really is. Or, you know, oh, he has to be making, you know, 6 figures or high 6 figures or 7 figures in order for me to feel safe. Like we've had women on our calls be like, yeah, I require a man who's making $500,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah, I require him. And it's usually a combo too. It's that and the height, and he's spiritually evolved, and this and that. And then sometimes I'll ask him, well, what's going on with your work career? Well, I'm kind of figuring it out. And you're like, wait a second, you're asking all of this from him, but
Yeah.
it's not matching there. You know, you said something there that hits me about this type too, is Claudia is really part about the feminine embodiment and the magic and helping women activate the communication skills. I'm about getting you all the way through the journey, the gauntlet of single to courted to claim. And I think that's why our chemistry works really well for ladies that want to change this, because you have the masculine and feminine. And she said something I see all the time. These ladies will get stuck on date 1, 2, or 3.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, it doesn't go to month 2, 3, 6, which you still have to get people past that. It's these snack bites. And they'll be attracted to men that are into the same kind of fantasy. You know, the woman that has the $300 first date and they go from this to this, and it's the most romantic thing ever. And then he goes,
he takes her for a ride in his Maserati.
Maserati, and it's just everything. And then where did he go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they kind of can be like, often they're love bombers, these kind of men that they're attracted to. So there has to be a bit of a conversion process. Now, we do have non-negotiables. I think having a gainfully employed man is very fair. I think, you know, if you have some height requirement, it's understandable. But when we have too many of these, I had someone on a call recently say, she didn't say I'm looking for a husband. That's what I'm looking for. People are like, I want my husband. This is like a dream I've had since I was a kid. That's someone we can help. She said this specifically, I thought it was really great wording. I'm looking to meet the man that I've been visualizing manifesting for years. Okay, so you want me to visualize this fantasy guy that hasn't worked out in 10, 20 years, and somehow we're going to make that happen, versus I want a really good man.
And it's like so often when we have the fantasy list, we're missing the man who's like right in front of us. It's like we're comparing him against this list in our head, right?
Yeah.
He matches this. Oh, he doesn't match this. He doesn't match this. He doesn't, right off of his head, right?
Yeah.
And it's like we're missing we're not giving a chance, right, for the man in front of us, whoever that man might be, to show us who he really is, and show us his good side, and show us his amazing qualities, right? And really reveal to us over a period of a few dates, a few weeks, a few months, right, who this man is, like the majesty of this man, right? Now, of course, if there are some, obviously there's exceptions to this, right? If he's got some glaring red flags, or if he's, you know, there's some fundamental incompatibility issues. I'm not talking about like looking past those things, but so often we have our list, it's so long that it's like, it's almost like having a castle wall. Think about your own inner queendom, right? It's like a castle wall that is impossibly high that no mortal man could ever penetrate through, because it's not based upon a real man. It's based upon a fantasy in your head that maybe you've gotten from, you know, from movies or from Hollywood or from, you know, watching people on your Instagram or stuff like that, right? We want to get you a good man where there's compatibility, where there's baseline attraction that can grow over time, right? You want to feel attraction for this person. You want to feel compatibility. You want to have shared values and, you know, visions and desires and dreams for your life. And you want him to treat you well. And you want to feel admiration for him and all these things, right? But this list is actually fairly short, right? Like the things that I just named, these are actually not that many things, right? And these are the things that we have seen over and over and over again. These are the foundations for a successful, thriving, lasting, union versus the fantasy list in our head that really, ladies, let's just face it, it's an avoidance tactic. It's an avoidance tactic that we use that allows us to avoid the vulnerability and the pain of true intimacy, of opening ourselves up to someone that deeply, of being that close to somebody, of having that level of depth of relationship and commitment with somebody, and growing that over the course of a lifetime. That's terrifying. Like, for those of us who are on the avoidance side of things, and I would definitely put myself in that category before, you know, Jonathan and I came together. And really, it's just the fantasy list. It's a way that we avoid true intimacy, and it's a way that we avoid being that close to someone, right? And when we can just understand that and call it out for what it really is, then we can drop our guard, soften our, like, shorten our list a little bit, really align with what does matter, and use that as the criteria for vetting versus the fantasy list in our head that, you know, is likely based on just fantasy, right? It's not based on anything real.
Ladies, I thank God weekly that Claudia, because I know she's dated taller men than me, but not all tall men are as masculine. You might find, and that's it. It's like, thank you. You may find these men surprise you in ways you never thought. They're actually more significant and substantial. This person is actually priceless. They're worth millions, and they might not fit your list perfectly. Now, I do think it's interesting because Claudia has put years, I believe, of genius into our program. I do think the same of what I put in, but like, she really is a mastermind in there. And the first lesson basically is
Throw out the list.
Throw out the list. And that has really helped me with helping other ladies step across that bridge from having like this incredible list to actually getting their husband. Because sometimes I have to talk them down off that because before they can make that decision. Because if they come in with the list and are demanding it, we're not going to get success. And
again, like, can I ask, honey, what does that do? Like, you dated other women before me, obviously, but when a woman had the long list and she showed up on a date with this long list in her head that she was, you could feel probably on some level that she was sizing you up against.
Not only have I dated other women before you.
Really?
Yes, sorry. I have dated other women in Manhattan. And I wrote this down for the fantasy list. Man repellent. This might be the biggest turnoff for men. If you're coming in and it's a resume date and men are more sensitive than we realize much. And he can sense you're checking off the list and checking it twice. It's really not offering what men want and desire. In fact, I will tell women on a call, in this state, we don't have anything to offer them.
It's almost like dehumanizing too. It's like objectifying and dehumanizing.
It really, well, how can we objectify men? It really is. And it's degrading. And I think it's a recipe for disaster with men. So it's actually really easy to fix over time, because that will be substituted with something more substantial, like appreciation and respect for all men. And now we're talking about things that actually allure men in, that attract them. But you have to be willing to do that, especially if this has been a pattern going on for a while. That's why humility is so key for this work, I find. We've definitely been humbled, right?
Yeah. Every single day.
And that's what I love about courtship, is it'll take your patterns and correct them. It will take the bad ideas and sabotaging things that we all do and put them in alignment with God and energetics and a structure that actually works. So number 3. Are we ready for number 3?
Yeah.
Yes. So number 3 is your communication is off. So 1 was you're not making space for him. 2 was the fantasy list. And now we get into the first one that I thought of, is ways you're pushing away men is communication. And I even wrote today, the masculine and feminine, they meet in communication. And I either think it's almost like 2 worlds. You're either going to do it with mastery, feminine mastery on the women's side. That's what we work with a lot. Or it's going to be done with mediocrity. And it's almost like either or. There's not 2 in between spaces quite often. So I wrote down a question for you. I wanted to ask you a surprise question.
Ooh, surprise question. Okay, let's see.
Okay, what is the number one way that you see on the women's side that the communication is off in pushing away good men?
Oh, I can only choose just one?
Well, no, you can you can give us your top. What are your top ones on this? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I would say entitlement is one. When you're feeling entitled, and this goes back to the fantasy list thing,
Yeah.
when you are in a state of entitlement and you believe that men owe you something, your communication is going to come off weird. It's going to come off as off, right? And that will come, it'll come off more as control. It'll come off more as you trying to, to control him, and to lead him and to get him to be a certain way or get him to do a certain thing, right? Match the expectations on your list, right? And when your communication is coming from that place of entitlement, it's just always going to be off.
When you're feeling that men owe you something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that they're gonna feel that's resentment.
Yeah.
They owe me. This is gonna work now, or if it doesn't, I'm gonna da da da. Yeah, that's gonna backfire with men for sure. Yeah, I see that will often lead. There's expectation of disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're gonna do that, there's an expectation it's not gonna work out too, and then you're waiting for the moments where they do disappoint you, and that'll be put in the communication. I think one thing I see with the communication is, I mean, I don't know how to say it, they just don't know what they're doing. Like we have friends, they don't know how to get desires met in a way that turns the man on into his hero instinct. We have a number of friends that we see struggle, and we don't really go around just saying, hey, you don't tell a friend. The reason he's doing that is because you're communicating it in a way where he's going to do something to annoy you. Like they don't even see this that's on their side of the street. Because when you learn to communicate, it's really cool. You'll get to know who are the good men and not very quickly.
Yeah.
And when they're good and you're communicating well, I'm always looking for that early on, because men, when they feel that, they don't always get that in society, quite often not. And they'll be like, wow, this girl's marriageable. My life gets better with this woman. And they don't know necessarily it's being done with the magic of feminine communication, but it totally is. Honestly, that's the chemistry I'm looking for on early dates. Because if you get a date or two like that, you may have a husband. And if you communicate wrong, man, we can't tell you how many people have come in and said there were no good men for years. And then suddenly they're coming out of the woodwork. And I guarantee it's the communication.
I think it also comes down to women when we feel emotional or when we're feeling really dysregulated or we're feeling kind of, luteal or something like that.
Sure.
We're feeling hormonal, and our communication just can come out in these unconscious ways, and we don't mean to, but it can come off as bitchy, or it can come off as entitled, or it can come off as controlling or demanding, right? And so that's why being able to, hold ourselves and being able to self-regulate and self-soothe and then express, right, our desires, our vulnerability, our appreciation, all of these communication. By the way, I just did a whole masterclass on feminine expression, feminine communication. I can put a link to get the replay in the comment section. But yeah, there's a whole toolkit that we can tap into, toolbox. But when we are in a state of, oh, he didn't call me back, or he didn't do something I like, right, or he didn't give me what I want, or he didn't show up exactly in the way I want, right? That our communication, we're responding to something that he did, we're reacting.
Right.
We're responding consciously, we're reacting, and our communication comes off in a way that will not be inspiring. Right.
And there are things to do on the masculine side too. Like if I take ownership here, it took me quite a while to learn times where I need to be softer. Still learning it, really. And other times I can be more jokey depending on where Claudia is at. So it's a thing that we can learn on the men's side too, for sure. Our primary focus is with the women. And I would say, as you're saying this, I think people don't realize how much diplomacy is part of courtship. It always has been from the 1400s on. And you can communicate in a way where it gets the desired result you want, versus you get to just express and react.
Yeah.
And these communication skills even work well with like clients, employers, the whole thing. And so you learn this it's an art, as Claudia always says. And when you learn this art form, what's so cool is when you learn it, you master it, and you know what you're doing. You get results.
Yeah.
There's honestly there's not like a million things to say. You can learn a few approaches and master them over a number of months and pretty much know what to do in any situation. That's what I love about our work is you don't have to memorize a million things to really be a master of love. But you do, as I say, you need to know the principles in some of the basic like approaches. So what Claudia teaches a lot is approaches. And once you've mastered these, oh, this situation came up. Oh, I can apply this thing. It's not like each situation has a totally new way to approach it. It's just, what percentage of women do you think out there in dating are using, that haven't been trained in courtship, are using effective communication?
1%.
1%? Wow, I thought it was being low at about 10%. Yeah, so there's just huge, and you see it in the culture. Oh, in the media, when I watch the red pillars and the feminists talk to each other, it's just like, wow, you guys, stop. There's a courtlier way to do this. And that's what's so fun is women, I feel like Claudia calls it the 7 feminine superpowers in our work. Like they have all these superpowers they didn't know existed. And so their love life starts getting miracles when they were getting mediocre before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say on communication, baby?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it comes down to our feminine communication, our feminine expression, and our, when we express in a way that is inspirational to a man, is inspiring to him, we can create win-win situations with the masculine,
right?
Where he wins and we win, right? Because we're sharing with him our desire, and we're giving him an opportunity to win with us, to be our hero, to feel successful with us, right? And then we get our desire met, and then we're happy, right? Or if we're creating space or creating an opportunity for him to help us, right? If we reveal our heart and we express vulnerability, we're giving him an opportunity to take care of us and to provide for us and to cherish us and protect us, right? And so again, there's a win-win. And our feminine communication or expression really allows us to create these win-win dynamics with men in courtship and dating, which over time allows you to spiral up in your dating life versus spiral down.
Exactly.
And create bad habits and patterns and situations that repeat themselves over and over and over again.
This is so key, that things appreciate versus depreciate.
Yes.
How many times have you heard, oh, it was going well and the honeymoon phase ended? What I love about this work we do is it doesn't end, it gets better over time. Like I think we're having the best time of our lives 11 years in, right? I know when we sat down recently we were talking about business, we've really improved on this in our own, how we work together as a team. I'm constantly talking about teamwork and the co-creative alchemical power of the masculine and feminine. And the first thing we wrote down of what we're doing is so I can make all of Claudia's dreams come true. And I mean, that's what we want to do, is find a man for you like that. Yeah.
I love that.
All right. Well, ladies, maybe you're pushing men away in this fashion, from not giving space to the fantasy list to the communication, which is so key, or other aspects that might not be working. But if you are desiring to be courted and claimed, to go through your Cinderella season and meet your husband, we believe courtship is just the best way to, I always say, solve this problem. The vast majority of our clients, as long as you're coachable, cool, and committed, they find their husband within 3, 6 to 9 months. So if you're interested, we have opened up 10 spots. There are 8 remaining. We have a $500 off April, spring discount right now for our Kings Road program. And we will put a link here with this Or you can go to ecstaticallyeverafter.com and book a love diagnostic call. It'll be with yours truly, and we'll do a clarity session and see if we can help you on your journey to lasting love. But we have helped people that have struggled 5, 10, 15 years with this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've tried all the feminine embodiment, the goddess work, the polarity, and you still have not found your king, your husband, reach out to us, because courtship can really help make that shift happen. So we'll put the link below, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.
Ciao for now.